Your destiny is ultimately shaped by your mindset. This eternal principle has been demonstrated time and time again by legendary figures such as Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos. As Napoleon Hill famously wrote in his masterpiece, Think and Grow Rich, you become what you think about. Yet, if this concept is so straightforward, why do countless individuals still fall short of their goals? Are they ignoring their futures, or simply blind to their own immense capabilities? The narrative we are sharing today will unlock the solutions to these very mysteries, delivering a profound life lesson. Make sure to stick around until the very end, as I guarantee this tale will be a fantastic investment of your time. Amidst the hustle and bustle of a crowded train depot, there was a destitute man who made his living exclusively off the charity of passing travelers. He spent his days pleading for spare change from commuters waiting for their departures. On one particular afternoon, he spotted a remarkably sharp-looking executive striding onto the concrete platform. Observing the stranger's tailored clothing and self-assured walk, the panhandler reasoned, "This fellow is clearly wealthy. If I approach him for a handout, he is bound to drop a hefty sum into my palms." Fueled by this expectation, he walked right up to the corporate traveler and eagerly extended his empty hand. However, rather than reaching for his wallet, the executive locked eyes with him and posed a startling question. "Is your only habit to take from people? Have you ever actually offered anything to another human being?" The impoverished man was taken aback. He had never been confronted with a query quite like this. Puzzled, he responded, "Sir, I am merely a street beggar. My entire survival relies on asking for charity. I possess absolutely nothing of value to hand over to anyone else." A faint smirk appeared on the executive's face as he countered, "If you truly convinced yourself that you have zero to offer, then you simultaneously lack the justification to demand anything from the world." As a person of commerce, my philosophy is rooted in mutual exchange. Should you provide me with some form of value, I am more than willing to compensate you. But since you bring nothing to the table, I have nothing to offer you either. With those parting words, the wealthy traveler stepped onto his arriving carriage and departed. Left frozen on the platform, the destitute man was completely shocked. He continuously looped the stranger's blunt declaration in his head. "I have spent years pleading on these streets, yet no one has ever confronted me with that perspective. He wasn't insulting me, he was just stating a harsh reality. If I fail to supply any sort of benefit, why on earth should anyone surrender their hard-earned cash to me?" For the first time in his life, a light bulb went off. He understood that his meager daily earnings were a direct result of providing zero value to his benefactors. When night fell, sleep evaded him. He lay under the stars, entirely consumed by introspection. "But what could I possibly distribute? I am destitute. I own zero assets." Even so, the traveler's core philosophy rebounded in his consciousness. To acquire, one must initially provide. A full 48 hours drifted by without him requesting a single penny. He was too absorbed in deciphering this riddle. Then, on the third afternoon, as he rested near the railway, he spotted a vibrant cluster of wildflowers blossoming right beside the gravel tracks. Their brilliant hues grabbed his attention, and an epiphany washed over him. What if, rather than solely extracting, I initiate an exchange? What if I present every donor with a beautiful blossom in return for their coins? What is the bay now? This face problemance is the often and for main, but when Godding to and Cleater not said, when face problemance that was the crosses to deafen and problem and for a brick the 12. Filled with newfound resolve, he marched over to the patch, carefully harvested a bundle of the vibrant plants, and resumed his standard post. The very next time a commuter dropped a coin into his cup, he beamed and handed back a delicate stem. Astonishingly, the travelers received his botanical gifts with immense delight. Several beamed right back at him and voiced their gratitude. As the week progressed, a phenomenal shift occurred. His daily revenue skyrocketed, yet he quickly identified a crucial trend. Whenever his floral inventory was fully stocked, the public was incredibly generous. But the moment his petals were depleted, his income plummeted. "The theory is absolutely correct," he mused. "Human beings genuinely desire a reciprocal transaction." Shortly thereafter, while busy swapping his blossoms for spare change, he caught sight of that same wealthy executive waiting aboard a halted locomotive. Thrilled by the reunion, he dashed toward the window and announced, "Sir, this afternoon I actually possess something to offer. If you compensate me, I shall present you with these lovely flowers." The executive let out a warm chuckle, slid several bills through the open window, and accepted the bouquet. You have masterfully grasped the fundamental laws of commerce, the rich man proclaimed. As of today, you are officially stripped of the title beggar. You, my friend, have evolved into an entrepreneur. As the train's engines revved and it pulled away, the flower peddler stood rooted to the pavement, watching his mentor vanish into the distance. Those parting words ignited a fiery new mindset. Am I genuinely a merchant now? He debated internally. After a period of intense reflection, the ultimate truth crystallized. I have finally deciphered the formula for prosperity. I am no longer a charity case. I am a legitimate vendor. Commuters are no longer dropping coins out of sympathy. They are actively purchasing my botanical goods. I am officially running an enterprise. Electrified by this paradigm shift, he made a courageous choice. That very afternoon, he walked away from that train platform forever, completely abandoning his former identity as a panhandler. Half a year later, at that identical transit hub, a pair of sharply dressed gentlemen crossed paths. They shared a firm handshake, though one of them wore an expression of intense curiosity. "Have we crossed paths before?" the first gentleman inquired. The second man flashed a wide grin and answered, "Indeed, we have. We interacted on 2 separate occasions right alongside these very tracks." The first gentleman squinted, digging through his memories until his eyes suddenly bulged in pure astonishment. "Hold on, you were the street panhandler. The individual I denied a handout to and the very same guy I later purchased a bouquet from?" The former destitute man chuckled heartily. "That was certainly me, but I left that life behind entirely. I now operate a highly lucrative floral distribution company, and I am currently traveling to scale my operations to new cities." The older executive was absolutely floored. "That is phenomenal. What prompted such a massive transformation?" The thriving florist smiled warmly. "You imparted one of the universe's most profound principles. We can only harvest after we plant seeds." That fateful afternoon, I recognized that my beggar status was just an illusion. Deep down, I was always an entrepreneur. I merely needed to shift my own self-perception to match that reality. The two professionals grasped hands once more, this time as absolute peers. They subsequently boarded their separate carriages, accelerating toward their uniquely bright horizons. Ultimately, your reality is forged by your self-image. If you confine yourself to feeling insignificant, your life will reflect that smallness. Conversely, by acknowledging your massive internal power, you can unlock extraordinary triumphs. Therefore, refuse to place ceilings on your abilities. Visualize yourself as a resilient, competent, and victorious individual, because the moment you upgrade your mindset, you instantly upgrade your destiny. If this narrative resonated with you, please hit that like button, drop a comment outlining your biggest takeaway, and share this video to spark a fire in someone else. Catch you in the next inspiring tale.